Hello and welcome to another edition of Knickerbocker Banter. I'm your host, as always, Harris Wishard. And today with me, a dear friend, a longtime season ticket holder, one of the biggest Knicks fans I know, jacked up about what's going on right now. Welcome, Dave Zolot. What's up, man?
What's up, Harris? Awesome to be here. Let's go, Knicks. Great time of year for basketball in general. Definitely for the Knicks heading into the playoffs in what feels like the best spot we've been in a long time. So super excited to talk to you about the Knicks. Let's get into it.
Well, our relationship started through basketball, right? We went to the same high school. You know, I'm training your son, and that's how we kind of got to know each other. And then we both realized that we're Knicks fanatics. And
it didn't take long.
The deep conversations. I know not a lot of people text about basketball through the West Coast games, so I knew you were a hoop head as well. But since 2010, and that's been around the time where you got the season tickets, and I've made this point a lot in the podcast, to me, this group over the last couple of years feels a little bit different than the Carmelo playoff teams do. Could you speak on what is a little bit, unique about this group?
So I may be going a little bit off here, and I've been saying it a bunch on the text message, the various different text message groups that we're on, but I'm convinced, and at some point I'll be able to prove it to the world, that Jalen Brunson, he's not human. He's not from this planet. He's not from here. He's an alien life form. And for some reason, he came here, he was put here to play basketball at the Garden and join the Knicks team. And I know it's what everyone's talking about, Brunson this and Brunson that, but he's just that guy. And I was even thinking today, because I'll study guys, how they play and their moves. Like you watch a Steph Curry. I'm an undersized guy and I play basketball, so I'm constantly looking at the undersized guys and just trying to figure out, how did they get that shot off? How did they get a layup? I used to do it with Iverson all the time. And I watch him and I don't get it. He just gets these shots and he doesn't make it look easy because it's not easy and he's working hard, to get the shots. But when the actual shot goes off and it kind of does look easy, for them to go in. I don't know. It's a chemistry on the team. Maybe it's the Villanova thing. Maybe it's bringing his buddies in. But it all just goes through Brunson. We've been talking about it a bunch about the plus minus with Brunson and when he goes on the bench, what happens. So there's a massive impact of him just being on the floor, being on the court, being the general of that team. But it's more, and it's like a cultural thing, right? And that was a big problem this team had for a long time was the culture. And we don't need to get too deep into that and where it comes from, but it seems like there's been a true cultural shift in this team. That's just super exciting to watch, from the sidelines. And, maybe it took an alien form for that to happen, but we're here, man. It's super exciting.
Well, yeah. And you touched on the culture, and I've obviously spoken very highly of Tibbs. This started, and that's why I've kind of given Randall always the benefit of the doubt, and we know he's not going to be here, but there was an energy change once Tibbs got here that this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. If you don't like it, there's the door. And then the next level of talent came in, and I think the combination of those two things and realizing that this isn't going to go anywhere, right? A lot of these guys are in their mid to late 20s, so there's an opportunity for growth. The difference between I thought of that team 10, 12 years ago is that it felt like a lot of those pieces were kind of either rentals out of the end of their primes. This is okay, we may have finally turned the corner here. And you are right, though. Brunson is at the forefront of all of that.
Yeah, he really is. And it's a good call on Tibbs. He didn't just say it, he did it, man. He made some really tough decisions. I mean, he sat guys that were on fresh, big contracts, were starting, the year before, starting the beginning of that year. And he just did it, man. He just sat guys and he's I'm going with guys who fit my system, fit the culture. And, I don't mean to take too much airtime, but if I could just riff on one more thing.
You got, Dave, it's your show. It's your show, man. The fans of this program have maybe gotten a little tired of hearing from me all the time. It's time we hear from the New York Knicks fan base, and especially a loyal season ticket holder like yourself.
Yeah, no, I appreciate all that. And this is something you've spoken about a bunch, but part of what makes this so fun and exciting. So you and me, I know we both, our love for this team goes back to when we were growing up,
Right.
and the Starks and Oakley and Mason, like all those guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just the fight and the hustle and dive on the floor and defense. Like how did they recreate that? In 2024, it feels like the same team. It feels like all the reasons why we all and the longtime Knicks fans like us loved the team back then and stuck with them for the last 20 years because we still, we still felt that in our heart. Like it feels like they created that same thing. It's like the same breed of basketball. There's so many different styles and types of basketball that you could be successful with. But it just feels like that same, just like, just get at it, scrappy. We're always going to work harder than you. We're always going to hit the floor harder than you, just all that stuff. And it's so easy to root for. It's so easy to get behind. It's so fun to watch. And made me a huge Knicks fan. And, now, I've got little kids and watching the games with them, like just hoping that it rubs off on them the same way.
Yeah. And you know what? You made a point about the younger generation. And my dad took me to a lot of those games, more so in like the late 90s. And obviously remembering the Larry Johnson 4-point play was an iconic moment. But I left the building on a lot of those nights and said, I'm in love with this. I'm in love with the energy. I'm in love with how much people care about it. And, I obviously love the game, but having a team like that only elevated it for me. And that went away in New York for a long time. So a lot of young kids that are walking around with LeBron jerseys and Curry jerseys and everybody else that they got to watch, there wasn't a lot of pride that New Yorkers took in this team for a long time. And as you have talked about, and I think a lot of people feel that way about this current group, it's going to make the young fans watching now saying, I could watch this team and fall in love with the game. And you could have that passion on your own, but having a professional team like that only adds to it. And for me, I know I was completely obsessed from the jump. I remember going around weddings when I was 8, 9 years old, doing the starting lineup for people. So it was just an infatuation from a very young age. But this team, like you said, they play that brand, that style that not only New Yorkers love, but I think anybody that loves and appreciates the game has that same feeling.
Yep, absolutely. Good stuff.
Yeah. And, we have to mention from yesterday, and I know this is a player that is a true X factor for them, but right now he's their second best player, and he's looked a lot healthier. Can you touch on what you saw from Anunoby last night and what has you excited now?
So, I mean, look, you can't even put into words, what OG's done for the team since they made the trade. It's been so huge what he does on both sides of the ball. Obviously the defense, but the way he spreads the court on offense, knocks down the threes, all that stuff. You and I talk about this stuff all the time, but the injury and coming back and then taking time off again, it seems a little weird to me. I still, not sure what was going on there, but he's back now. Definitely took him a few games, to get his feet under him. But the game last night against Chicago, started to feel like, oh, OG's back, and he did a bunch of great things defensively that, you expect from him. So I'm talking more, offensively, like it starts to look like, 4 for 6 from threes, 10 for 18 from the field goal. He's making moves, doing his little, drives and turnaround shots. 24 points. Like it was, last night was the first, because he had the injury on his elbow.
Right.
So you're like, oh, is that going to affect his shot? So I was nervous, but you see a game last night and you're like, oh, this guy's a real pro. He's going to get back there. He's going to be good.
Yeah. And you know what? I saw it very early. I watched the game back this morning, and a couple of those dives to the rim, like I didn't understand how much he moved without the ball, but even just attacking the rim yesterday early and those ferocious dunks that he has, and you just saw him trusting himself a little bit more. Without Randall, and it's been talked about a lot, there's going to have to be a void fill. And so Anunoby can't, I don't know how many 8-point nights from him they could survive. They'll have to scrap, obviously. But for him to see his jumper go down, trust himself, I saw a lot in the postgame as well, just his body language and how he was speaking about the game. That was encouraging. very encouraging because we saw him, like you said, the defense is going to be there. I don't think that's really going to be too affected by the elbow. But now the offensive punch and to hit 4 threes and to do what he did yesterday has to put a smile on New York Knicks fans' faces because there was a blow last week. There's no way around that. And we're trying to figure out ways now that we could create this path. Anunoby's a large part of that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. There's a big boy, and we could go back and forth about Randall. I'm a big Randall fan. I think he's great. I think his productivity is massive and cannot be replaced, but there's a void there. And, OG playing like that, is gonna help. And look, I'm not saying I believe this, but there is an argument to be made that the style of play, at least offensively, is better, more positive without Randall, where the ball tends to kind of, slow down. Now, I'm not saying I believe it, because I think on no matter what, any scenario, this team is better with Randall than without him. But it changes the dynamic. It frees up opportunities for other guys. There's a huge void. And having OG back, going into this playoff run is massive for us, for sure.
Yeah, and you know what? You hit on the age-old argument about rhythm versus skill, and to me, it's all about spacing as well. And I talked about this the other day. When guys are going to be blitzing Brunson, Hartenstein making his little floater, DiVincenzo continues to shoot the ball with confidence.
He was 5 for 5 last night.
Yeah,
he took 5 shots. He made 5 shots.
So yeah, Randall, it's an interesting one because with him, if he was inserted back in the lineup, that may have taken some time. It seems like OG seamlessly doesn't necessarily need it as much. It could play within the flow of the team, but I think everybody would agree that they don't reach their true ceiling without Randall. They might need a lot more to go their way. They might need to see a couple guys miss games perhaps on other teams, and just certain things would have to break for them to play. But the way that number 11 is running the show right now, and at that level that we haven't really seen around here in quite some time, if ever in my lifetime, right? And I'm talking maybe post Patrick Ewing. I got the tail end of that. But he is elevating people in a way that allows you to make up for something like this.
Yeah.
And that's how good he's been. But listen, it's a love-hate with Julius. It's an argument that goes back and forth seemingly almost every day. But right now, all you could do, and again, go forward with what you have. There's a lot of professionalism in this locker room, high level preparation, as I've talked about. So I'm not too concerned about the Knicks being in all of these games, but when push comes to shove, you'd like to have the most talent on the floor.
Yep, absolutely. So look, in terms of the game yesterday, the Knicks won by 11, only won by 11. I love to see like a 25-point, blowout. And I don't think the score, in the whole game, I don't think the score is indicative of the actual game itself. I feel like the Knicks were really in control, for pretty much the whole game. There are a few times when, Chicago got it within maybe 4 or 5 or something like that. But it was a great performance overall by the Knicks. Like, Chicago hit some big shots. They got it close. The Knicks answered every single time. They got production from, all their guys, big shots from all their guys. And they only won by 11, but I really do think they were in control of the game, pretty much from, beginning to end. So it was a nice game, especially coming after the loss, to Chicago. Last time we played a
frustrating one.
Yeah, frustrating one for sure. And we're playing them again on Sunday. So it felt good. Felt really, really good.
Yeah, and you know what? I think what turned my attitude around, not to say I was discouraged after the Bulls loss, but to beat the struggling Bucks team the way they did, and now there's a legitimate path here to win 50 games, to put themselves in a really good position. As I've said many, many times, it's so hard not to look at the matchups and say, Miami's here, Philadelphia's here, let's get to Indiana. I just think you could drive yourself nuts with that. But looking ahead to something like Thursday, where Boston has seemingly clinched everything, it's not, it's a fact. They're the number 1 seed in the world right now in the NBA. Now they're going to sit some guys. So, You take care of,
by the way.
yeah,
We should.
you take care of business. You potentially become the 2 or 3, and it's amazing to me. It's a unique year. This is a unique year because of was it the injuries and the trades, Dave.
Yeah.
This is and that's why it's so much more impressive. It wasn't like everything was smooth sailing, and nothing usually is. It's a battle-tested group, and it's a group I know that's not going to fold. I just feel like they're just going to get the most out of what they should. Yep. Last year, they struggled against Miami. I think they learned from that experience and now know what it takes on the NBA postseason level. But just speaking on Brunson, he was in the Western Conference Final, leading that group with Luka. Then he comes over here, wins a series. There's just a certain trust factor with the group that I feel like we're in for a really fun run. Yeah. I can't guarantee anything. I don't have any predictions as of right now. I just know I don't.
I'll give you a prediction.
Oh, here we go. Well, you can go. You can go
all the way, baby.
Yeah,
it's all the way.
Yeah, you do. And you'll be there. And you'll be there to support.
Oh, God willing. But before we go off yesterday's game, I just want to touch on. Everyone's talking about Brunson. I apologize for talking Brunson to death here.
Hey, listen, he's the top. He's the guy right now. You know that.
Just touch on his game. I mean, how it 12 for 12 from the free throw line, did that. 45 points. 13 for 24 from the field, 7 for 12 from 3. What? Do I need more proof that he's not from this planet? That he's not from here? It's just wild. The 8 assists. I mean, he's it's like he's getting better. It's like he's getting better as the season goes on.
Well, that's the thing is he continues to outdo himself. And what adds to this narrative is that people have come out and felt the need to say, and listen, he went from a second-round pick to, all right, I don't think he's going to be an all-star then. I don't think he's going to be he just keeps breaking this imaginary ceiling. And I don't know why anybody would come out and say he's not this or that, because he's continued to prove that he's going to get better. And those are the guys you want around that are going to, we might see another version of him. He'll add to his game. He's going to continue to work hard. How about this number? You'll like this one. I don't know if you saw this today. There are 2 guys in the NBA that have double-digit 40-point games. Brunson had his 10th yesterday. Luka Doncic has 13. Those are the only 2 players in the NBA that have 10 or more 40-point games. To me, that's an incredible number.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, so look, generally speaking, you spoke about the trades, the season, unusual seasons. This is more just an NBA comment. Feel like it's been a long time since the field was just so wide open who could win. I can't remember the last time that there were important competitive games that mattered going into the last week of the season, across the board and in the East and the West. Maybe it's the play-in is having something to do with it. I'm not sure. But if you look across the board, Boston's resting their guys. They're the only team in the NBA right now who's in that position where they can rest guys, because everyone else is fighting. They're jockeying for position, and all these games count. I don't remember another NBA season where the games actually matter coming down to the last week, the last 2-3 games. It's pretty cool.
This is what they want. This is what they want. They want the standings to be tighter. They want more teams to think they have a chance. Right, we're past the days of 4 straight finals of Warriors, Cavs, right? That's not going to happen. There's a little bit more parity in the league. Although Denver and Boston are the 2 best teams, what the play-in does, extending it. And not only that, but last year with Miami's run, they were a team that had to win the play-in. If you remember, they lost the first play-in and then almost lost the second one. So they were on the verge of not being in the playoffs, and then they go on to the finals. So that type of parity, that type of competitiveness is exactly what the NBA wants this time of year. And listen, 3 more games. As a season ticket holder, as someone that's been in a decent amount of games, to me, it flies by when it's fun. When you're winning this many games, I just remember yesterday jumping on in October and starting this thing. And by the way, you've been extremely supportive and probably more so than anybody with the text and the response. I know how much you love it, so it doesn't feel like you're really doing much. But, as a friend, obviously I appreciate that. And to me, just having everything on file and looking back at it, it makes it even more enjoyable. But for you? Has it flown by that quickly too when the games are going like this?
Yeah, no, it has. It's a good call, and I was actually thinking about it, just the other day. I'm like, holy cow, how's it April? How are we getting into the playoffs? It snuck up on me for sure. And look, it was a different season. There was the play-in, the in-season tournament. That was different. So that was a new excitement. Again, just kind of general NBA, but the season flew by. Obviously, and it's been a wild season. I mean, if you reflect on the season, like Knicks start out strong, they make that blockbuster trade, everyone's heads exploding, right? Everyone's fighting. Oh, how could you, and then, good trade, bad trade. Then OG, does what he does, and it's like, holy cow. And then the injuries, right? Yeah. And then, we kind of scraped our way back. We held our own, and now guys are back. And the season's flown by. Mitch and OG, back, I think at just the right time. And something else I keep saying is like, there's a real scenario here where this team just hits their stride and hits their peak right when you want them to going into the playoffs and in the playoffs. It's exciting, man. I'm trying to slow it down. Yeah. I'm trying to take it all in. Yeah. It's just good stuff.
Well, it's a great time to be in your position. You'll be able to not only get to the games, but as we talked about earlier, inspiring the younger generation. Your kids are crazy basketball fans just like yourself. And also tell Brooks that Dante DiVincenzo comment that he made has not exactly aged well. He wasn't necessarily patient with the third member of the Villanova tribe there. But yeah, it's so fun. And it's just, as Knicks fans, as starving as a fan base as there is in sports, right? We've got some of it now. We got tasted a little of it. And I keep telling people, I can't even imagine what New York City would be like, because I'm outside on West 34th after Game 2 last year, and it feels like we just won the title. The way people are reacting, you just multiply that by 10. So the energy is off the charts, and a lot of people have texted me, "Hey, you picked a great year to start this thing," and I'm like, "Listen, this is how I've been talking. I was in high school convincing people that Jamal Crawford and Eddie Curry were going to lead the Knicks to the promised land. That's how delusional we were at one point. But we just always try to create this. We use the word path a lot, but this puzzle and just piecing it together to try to think, how could it work for the Knicks? And we finally don't have to do as much lobbying or lying, and now we could be truthful and say we have meaningful playoff basketball consistently at Madison Square Garden. And that's a sigh of relief almost for a person that's going to as many games as you are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, and I think we're in a good spot, like not just for now, but when you look forward to the future and future seasons, I think we're in a really good spot with the young nucleus. We still have assets in terms of draft picks. We still have, Randall, who's going to be coming back full strength next year. So, you just got to enjoy it, man. We've gone through a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of heartache, but it really, listen, we're not at the promised land yet. Don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but it feels good to be an Knicks fan right now for sure. And actually around around the Knicks in the Garden, when I'm fortunate enough to get there and be at games, it feels really good. Feels really, really good.
Yo, question. And you know what? It's about damn time. And I don't mean to quote your guy LeBron there when he won his first championship, and I think it's more so, and you mentioned the promised land, it's about who's around. These guys that are so easy to root for, that are going for loose balls. That's why I've had the conversations and tried to tag guys like Artenstein and upcoming free agents, because you just love the way they play and you want to keep them around. It's a culture, like we talked about to start the show, that that even if they don't get to where they want to get to, even if they don't raise the Larry O'Brien trophy, you just know over the next couple of years, the way this thing is trending, that they'll at least get a crack at it. Me personally, I would actually be surprised. I know this might be going out on a limb, but this is actually a prediction of mine. I don't like to guarantee anything or say they're going to win the finals. But in Jalen Brunson's Knicks career, I do think he will at least play in the NBA Finals. I would be surprised if he didn't. I just think that's the way this thing is trending. But let's just not get ahead of ourselves and worry about the first round. It's so hard not to do, right? You want to see
it's so hard. It's so hard.
The first round of playoffs, the Knicks will probably have home court. To me, I think they're going to win the next three. I just have a feeling they're going to get to 50. They should not lose to the Bulls or Nets at home. So this is about tomorrow night, and we're looking forward to it. As I always say, enjoy, because we know what the other side looks like. We've been there. We've done that. I prefer this one where we can get on and we can be enthusiastic and we can be passionate. People aren't calling us crazy for those 25 and 30 win teams that we had to root for a better part of this century so far.
Yep. Absolutely. I'm with you 100% on all that stuff.
You're the best, man. I appreciate you so much. Like I said before, you exemplify what it is to be a Knicks fan, and
well, look, what you're doing is awesome. I think your level of knowledge of the game and the sport, your in-depth kind of takes and views and spins on.
Thank you.
Not spins, but really understanding of the game, and then being able to articulate it well to a crowd and to an audience is really awesome. So you keep doing what you're doing. The energy you bring, all that stuff is great, and people are definitely recognizing, all the stuff that you're doing. I know your following has been growing, with leaps and bounds. So, maybe a little bit of is good timing, because everything's clicking. But I think a lot of it is you, just being persistent with it and all the great work that you're doing. So definitely keep it up.
Appreciate that, man. And we'll hopefully do this again throughout the postseason. I've talked about the Instagram lives and obviously our Knicks group chat with other very knowledgeable and passionate Knicks fans, which is really why I started this in the first place. I just want to bring together, whether you're in Long Island, tri-state area, across the country, wherever you are, just to connect people and talk Knicks and be passionate about it, because I know there are so many people that are. So, Dave, we appreciate the time you took today. Again, we'll have to bring you back on, because we know this season is going to be well into May and June.
It's a long postseason.
Yeah, that's the wish. That's the goal. Appreciate you, brother.
All right,
guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Knickerbocker Banter. We'll talk to you soon.